All right, let's get started. Welcome back, and thank you for coming today. I know we have a few guests, so welcome. This is Faces and Places in Fashion here at FIT. For those of you in the class, just a quick couple of house cleaning things. I did finish grading all of your event critiques, so if you have any questions, you can let me know. I know there was one or two issues, so if that's still the case, please let me know so we can take care of that as soon as possible. Also, next week, just as a reminder, Kristen Sevilla will be our speaker. She is the president of Jour Access, which is the premier wholesale platform for fashion, working primarily with the luxury companies in essentially integrating their sales and wholesales with retail. So that'll be next Monday. And then the week after, just as a quick reminder, I'm sure I don't have to do this, but we will not be having in class. I will be out of the country, so remember that there is an assignment due for your current issues. So that's all the house cleaning stuff. Let's get started. I'm really excited. This is the second time that we've had this opportunity to do a live recording of the Transition of Style podcast, which is hosted by Corinne Phillips. It's a podcast that explores the ways in which personal style and queer identity meet, and the podcast is at once personal, informative, always packing an emotional punch. Last semester, we actually had Elliot Sailors here, the model, speaking, so that was our first time out. It was such a great adventure. Today, I'm very excited to introduce our guest. Danielle Cooper is first, next to Corinne Phillips. Danielle launched She's a Gent, a blog that celebrates and explores personal style while also using it as a tool to bring awareness to women in menswear. In a very short period of time, She's a Gent has transformed into a multi-digital publication, which creates visibility for the LGBTQ+ and QPOC communities. She's a Gent has been recognized in Forbes, the New York Times, the HuffPost, Out Magazine, Vogue, and Nike. As the founder of a multi-network digital platform that uses fashion as visual activism, Danielle is committed to empowering others through content creation and storytelling. Xiao Yang is next to Danielle. Xiao is the founder of The Tailory. The Tailory New York began when she decided to direct her years of fashion design and men's tailoring experience towards her own wardrobe. She's a pantsuit aficionado and a lover of men's fashion, conveying the same message of confidence that a perfect custom-tailored suit did for men. She likes to bring that to women. Style icons like Sean Connery and Cary Grant, as well as Daniel Craig, are all part of her inspiration. The Tailory is a custom clothing company that combines modern fashion design with the heritage of custom tailoring. They live by the notion that your wardrobe should not only fit perfectly, but should be designed with only you in mind. With impeccable fit, custom design pieces that integrate seamlessly into anyone's lifestyle. So thank you so much, Danielle and Xiao, for coming, and I'm going to turn the time over to Corinne, our host for today.
Thank you guys. Well, thank you for having me back here at FIT, Faces and Places. As Josh mentioned, Transition of Style is a podcast that discusses the intersection of personal style and gender identity. And so today, these guests are a dream come true. I'm going to try not to do a bunch of gushing up here, because it's not a good look. But I'm really excited today because these guys, I've been following them both for some time, and I just cannot wait to start asking them questions. I am going to read my questions today because I want to stay on message and stay on topic, and I don't want to meander, so I'm going to read these questions. So if it looks like, a little formal, it's a little more formal, but these guys are awesome, and we're gonna get informal at times. So, Xiao, Danielle, thank you so much for being here. It's a complete pleasure. It's awesome.
Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Everyone can hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right. So, guys, I want to find out how the collaboration between the two of you guys started. I mean, that's the first thing I got to ask because you guys work together a lot.
Yeah.
If you guys, at the end of the podcast, we can talk about, how to find them on Instagram. If you go to each of their Instagrams, you'll see that they are kind of sometimes on each other's Instagram, and they are doing a lot of things together, and I cannot wait to find out how the collaboration took place.
Yeah, so I started blogging in 2014, and when I started blogging, it was all about personal style, and that came from Off the Rack. Yeah. And a few months into me blogging, so one of the things with blogging, it's not just about writing on the blog and then using social media as a tool to get people to the blog, but it's about going out and networking. And so I was networking at an event and came across a brand that Xiao actually had worked with, a shoe company, who then introduced me to her.
Right.
And that's how we started to kind of forge this relationship. So you started around the same time.
I probably started 6 months before I met you.
Yeah.
Really? Really?
Yeah,
That's
so we met very early on in our journey. So I think it was like kind of fate.
Yeah.
It was like meant to be.
That's amazing.
And so Xiao's team then reached out to me.
Can you guys bring
and
up your
said,
mics
hey,
just a
we
little
want
bit?
to come
sorry.
in and
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we want you to come in, meet us, and just kind of share my journey. And it was all about, again, being a woman in menswear. And so Xiao loved kind of this boss woman showcasing suiting.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the first women we talked about, we were all on the Scandal bench.
Yeah, we were, yeah.
So we were talking about like
Still
Olivia
is.
Pope, like that kind of attitude.
Right.
She
Awesome.
wanted,
I kinda like
she
that.
saw
Yeah.
kind of through my page. So we came together and we started working together very organically in the beginning. It
Right.
was just about her getting pieces on me,
Yeah.
but also educating me on custom clothing. Because when I came in, I mean, I was wearing men's clothing that I had tailored
Yes.
or taken to
Yes.
a tailor.
Yes.
And it just, certain things didn't
course.
fit properly.
Of course.
So then I quickly started partnering with Xiao, and the rest is history.
But
And
here's a
4
question.
years later.
What is the shoe? So you were working with a shoe company? Is
No,
that
I wasn't,
like-
Well,
we
yeah.
knew the founders of this shoe company.
Okay.
And I think you just met them, you ran into them at an event, right? Yeah. And then I think they reached out to me the next day and was like, we met, Danielle Cooper, she's a Gens, and we think you would really love her, her style and her aesthetic. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And like,
Yeah, and I don't want to get too ahead because I know we're going to answer some of these questions, but one of the reasons I think that he connected me to Xiao is because, again, I'm a woman in menswear.
Yeah.
And a lot of brands don't want to step out of that traditional
Right,
box and
right.
partner with me because of that.
Right.
So Xiao saw that and was like, you know what,
I
let's
was very
change the game.
excited.
That's, I can completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
When we had Elliot Sailors here last year, one of the things that she mentioned that I thought was really interesting was the idea that, they mentioned, is that if a woman models suiting from a men's company, a company that's run by men, created for men, then men don't want to wear it. They're like, yeah, I can't do that. A chick wore it, so now
Yeah.
I can't wear it, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy and ridiculous.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, when I first started, there was just so much negativity that I got from that because back then people were reposting you, and it was just like, I can just vividly remember this one comment, but not to get off topic,
Yeah,
but
tell
they
me.
don't. Well,
No, I wanna hear it.
the comment basically was like, a woman should be in an apron in the kitchen, not in a suit. Verbatim.
Kidding me.
No. So yeah, I mean, it's just,
Kidding me.
so
Incredible.
partnering with Xiao and her wanting to change this game and really just showcase androgynous fashion or women in menswear was like a dream come true.
Ciao. Kudos to you, my friend. Kudos. So to me, it sounds as though when I kind of read your story, it sounded as though, Xiao, that you started the tailoring because you didn't see suits that you wanted. Like there were
Yes,
suits, there was
absolutely.
suiting for women, but it wasn't the suiting that you wanted. That was structured enough that
Right.
had the style that you wanted. So I want to talk to you about. It seems though, like, especially with your collaboration with Danielle, there's a lot of people in the LGBTQ community, queer community, that are coming to you for suits right now. So you've become to be known as somewhat of a, an ally and a safe haven for a lot of those
Right.
people. And I'm curious as to, did you see that happening? Because it sounds like you started tailoring thinking, I need more suiting options, and I need
Right.
to create those suiting options.
Right.
But did you ever expect it was going to be this, this thing where like now queer people are like, oh my God, I'm flocking to this person because I can get a suit, I can get something that's going to fit my body,
No, I didn't in the beginning. I've been in the custom suiting game for a very long time.
Okay.
And when I first started, I was one of the only women in a very male-dominated industry. And there's a lot of, I saw the exclusion in that field because as a woman, they expected you to act a certain way, to represent yourself a certain way, and to dress a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's just not who I am.
Right.
And I've always wanted to challenge that, and I've gotten in trouble many times for challenging the norm, like not wearing heels to work one day because I hurt my foot.
What?
I actually got sent home.
You were working for a place?
I was working for a custom suiting company, and I was one of the heads. I was at the top, directing and designing, and there's a strict dress code in place. And it was always like, oh, you know, women should look a certain way, and heels was definitely, you know, something that they expected of you.
Right.
And I love heels,
Right.
don't get me wrong,
Right.
I'm wearing heels today, but, you know, I don't feel like I have to wear it just because.
Right.
So one day I actually hurt my toe, and I had to go to the office, and I wore flats. It was just
Imagine
a plain flat, and I walked in, and I remember my boss, he looked at me, and he says, "What are you wearing today? You're not properly dressed for work." And I said, "I hurt my toe. I can't actually fit them in, you know, 4-inch stilettos. Like,
Oh my
I
God.
had to come in." He's like, "You can't. You're not dressed properly. You have to go home." I was sent home. It was like the first time I ever got sent home for like not wearing a certain, you know, article of clothing or a certain type of shoe. But I saw that, and that was not new to me. Like the concept wasn't, you know, the idea that it's very exclusionary and like everybody just it was like a men's club and there was like a certain viewpoint. But that day I was like, wow, this is real. Like this kind of, you know, idea that women need to look a certain way is really real.
Right.
And that partnered up with the fact that like I personally love menswear. And I love suiting in general, not that it's menswear, but I love suiting. So with that, like I've always wanted to create a space where people like me who maybe don't fit into the typical norm of what everybody feels like you should be wearing, like you can go somewhere and you can like feel comfortable and be yourself and get something made. That's why I started the tailory. But then, you know, as you know, I met Danielle like very soon after I started the tailory, and when she told me her story about her struggles in the menswear space and not being accepted, right? When you walk into a store and you're like, I'm looking for a certain type of clothing, and you get stared at, or they don't make you feel comfortable. That really resonated with me, and I think that's when I realized that the tailory had a purpose. You know, and the purpose was to introduce the idea that you can be whoever you want, you can wear whatever you want, and there's no gender to clothing, and it's just about expressing yourself in a certain way, and you shouldn't be judged for it. You know? So like I feel very honored to be an ally and very honored to be able to create, you know, to help my clients and help people kind of create their own visual identity and be proud of who they are, and like I'm part of that journey.
Yes.
Like everyone's very inspirational to me, and I'm like very happy to be, you know, a part of that.
Fantastic.
So,
I love it.
I would love to continue.
Yes, please continue. I mean,
to do it.
that whole safe haven situation is very real. I mean, I also experienced walking to, you know, a menswear clothing store and getting the stares and getting the looks, and you know, as if my money somehow doesn't work there, you know, which is very strange, you know,
Or
because
like you can't shop here.
Right? Can I be a patron here or not? It's like it's the strangest thing. But so thank you very much for what you're doing, because it's incredible and it's important. Danielle, I'm sure you would say plenty about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's
so,
changed my wardrobe.
Yeah, we kind of try to count your suits.
I know. No. You were way off.
You're getting up there. You're getting up there. It's really great. So Danielle, for you, you know, so I've been following you on social media for a really long time, and your look is always clean. It's impeccable. It's like really nice, a good, clean aesthetic. So when did you start dabbling in menswear? When did that whole thing start?
It's been some years. So I've always been in menswear in some shape or form. Like I was a tomboy growing up. I played basketball all my life. So back then in the 90s, it was a lot about, kind of up there. It was all about like that urban meets athleisure meets oversized. You know, if you know TLC, that kind of style. So in some capacity, I was always in menswear. But it wasn't until I moved to Germany, as I played basketball overseas, and I was living out there, that I got to see European style all day long, and I just fell in love.
Wow.
With it's so sophisticated and dapper, and the fit is just, the fashion is impeccable. And at that same time, my ex had me watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and if you guys know Scott Disick back then, The boy could dress. I don't know what happened,
I,
but
I had no idea your answer would go.
I was not
Included-
into keeping up with the Kardashians, but
Right.
I love Scott Disick. His style is just flawless.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was around that time that I started to transition and really get into proper menswear, I like to say.
Yeah.
And then so over the years, I kind of just started to, one piece at a time, curate this wardrobe that turned into this dapper collection of suiting and tailored pieces before I met this one here.
Of course, of course. So before you met her, though, I would imagine she wasn't your first custom suit. I would imagine,
Well,
right?
no,
So,
she was my first custom
really?
suit. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I would assume that you had just done some custom suiting around and then found Shao and was like, nope, I'm stopping here.
No.
This is where I want to live. This is great.
Well, it goes back to the being comfortable to shop in certain places or be in certain houses. And a lot of the custom clothing companies that I knew at the time were all men, and there was just, it's
Right.
uncomfortable.
Yes, it is.
You know, because they're questioning you as to why you want your clothing to fit a certain way.
Yes.
You know, why is it that you don't want a really fitted suit with, flared legs? And that's fine for somebody, but
course.
I like the way men's suiting looks. I like the cut.
Right.
So I was shopping off the rack.
Yeah.
You know, Top Man was actually my go-to because of the variety of sizes that they have. They start all the way down at a super skinny and then go up to regular. So that size fit me, and then I would still have to take it and get it tailored, but it never fit me properly.
So, question about Top Man, because that's interesting. Because I know I style people sometimes, and I take them to Top Man for the variety of sizes, but also because it's a comfortable environment.
Yeah.
You know, you have some of the people working in the shops that I've been at Top Man. You don't get the questions. You don't get the stares. They're just shopping, right? You're just shopping. You're not getting so much blowback.
It's
for
so
being
fluid
there.
in there.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
and even in Europe, and I always think that Europe, in the UK, because that's where I shopped at Top Man, is people don't care what you look like or what you wear.
Yeah.
You know, it's about style. It's not about your gender.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, they were the only store coming from Europe or the UK that had the sizes that I need to fit my body, because I'm kind of short.
So they're the ones. And so before then, though, so we're talking about just getting things tailored. So you found a tailor that worked with you.
Yeah.
You were comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Because the truth is like I do style people, and I would love for everyone just to go get custom, but sometimes they can't all afford
Yeah, not
it.
everybody can
So when
afford
they until they can, the tailor sometimes your best
Yeah,
friend,
you have
right?
to find the one that works for you. I got really lucky with finding one around the corner from my house.
Oh wow. That's good.
It was actually like a cleaning shop meets tailor. It was, whatever. But
As
yeah,
long as it's getting the job done.
yeah, they
it's
got the
fine.
job done. I went in there, but the unfortunate thing is that your bill racks up really quickly when you're getting your clothing tailored. I mean, you're gonna go buy a suit off the rack that's gonna cost
Of course.
X amount of dollars, then you
course.
have to take it to get tailored.
Yes.
And I didn't know at the time that in getting it tailored, they're changing and altering the construction of the
Yeah.
suit.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
again, these are a lot of things that I learned over the course of the year working with Shao, but that's why I just say that if it, Shao changed everything. It was
yeah.
like a breath of fresh air.
Oh my gosh, this is such a great collaboration. I love it. So Shao, I have a question for you. So in your opinion, it seems like there's a shift happening in custom suiting, right?
Yeah.
Seeing a lot more custom suiting places, it seems like. I mean, I don't remember seeing as many as we're seeing now.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like, why do you think that's happening, first of all? And then also, what do you think makes the tailoring sort of stand out? I know what makes it stand out. But you tell me what makes it stand out.
I think they're craving for like individuality, I think people are tired of seeing the same thing happening in fashion, and every fashion house is talking about the same trends, and I think people want to be able to customize and curate their wardrobe and their identity and their lifestyle a little bit more. So we are seeing a lot more custom kind of, not just clothing, it could be custom anything, right?
Yes,
I think
yes.
we're starting to see a little bit more of that happening. I think that's the great thing.
Yeah.
So I think our approach to custom is a little different than other clothiers. I think a lot of clothiers think about, first of all, when they think about custom clothing, the first thing that comes to their mind is custom suits. That's like that's the only thing that can be custom, right? With us, it's a little bit more about just clothing in general. It could be anything. We can custom anything. It doesn't
Right.
have to be a suit.
Right.
And with other clothiers, or most of them, they think in a very linear way. You know, the process is very linear, and the way they imagine the suit to be is also very linear. So they're thinking, okay, you come in and you pick a fabric, and you pick a lining, then you pick a button, and you know, you pick the style of the suit, and the style of the suit is always very masculine.
Right.
It's always one particular suit.
Right. Right.
And that's okay. You know,
Right.
that's what, you know, it's an introduction to custom clothing. If that's what you're looking for, then it's very easy. With us, we try to think a little bit outside the box, because for us, you know, suiting doesn't have to only derive from menswear.
Right.
It shouldn't have to be just, oh, the men wear it this way, so as a person in suiting, you have to look a certain way.
Right.
You know, you can, but there's also a lot of other ways to wear a suit.
That's
and
right.
there's a lot of things you can do to a suit that could be completely individual.
Yeah.
You know, so like, we do a lot of very interesting things at the space. So if you come in and you're like, I want a suit with a cape, like, yeah, sure, we can make that. You know, I mean, we just did a kimono suit.
Have you had to make that?
I did have to make that, and it was a lot of fun.
I'm dying. I would love to see a
to
photo of
figure
that.
out, like, you know, how the cape
Amazing.
is gonna fall, and like how to take off the cape.
I love it.
You know, that process is what makes it super fun
Yeah.
to work with us. You know, like, we really listen, and we want to make sure we get you something that you truly, truly want.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like, you know, we can do anything.
I mean, she's really innovative. I remember when we really started to think outside of the box even more. Like,
Yeah.
take, for example, the suit that I'm wearing right now.
Yeah.
This is traditionally a pinstripe suit that is vertical,
Yeah.
but she just decided to flip it. It was
Amazing.
just like, why don't we just turn it this way? was
I don't
like,
know why
yes.
I did that.
Okay, why not? Like, what am I supposed to say? No? Like, you know, and so she constantly is thinking outside of the box and finding new ways to, you know, merge
it.
different fabrics
Yeah.
together, contrast colors, you know, just change anything you can to make it look different and not recycled, so to speak, against
Right.
like things that are off the rack.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've definitely seen you do that. There's no doubt about it. I mean, like, I've had friends who come in and like ask for something. You're like, sure, we can do that. Like, this.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like a candy store when you
It
go into
is.
tailoring. I must say, it's
We don't
like,
say no.
right.
To
There's like
anything.
nothing is a no. Everything's
Yeah,
a yes.
everything's like, yeah, sure, we can do it. Even if we haven't done it before.
Right, you're gonna
like,
figure it out.
Okay, yeah, we can do it. Well, there's always a way, right? If
Yeah.
you want it done, like, we'll find a way and we'll make it happen.
So Danielle, you must have walked in there and been like, oh my god.
So I still get anxiety when I'm
incredible.
trying to pick out a suit. Like, a lot of the time, Shao is finishing the suits, like the details that are inside the lining,
Yeah.
because like, I'm like, girl, I need a minute. This was a lot. Yeah. Because again, like, just looking at the fabrics, it's like, you want me to pick from that?
Right, right. You can,
It's a
you can
lot
have
of
anything
fabric.
you want.
Yeah.
That's, you know, it's incredible because I think that there's so many people, you know, going and buying stuff off the rack. If that's your own experience with retail, you can get into a situation where you think you can't have what you want,
Yeah.
right? It's really
Very common.
people go to the tailoring with the mindset of, oh my God, I can have anything. Like
Right. They're
they don't
still very
understand
shocked
it.
when they come in.
I can imagine. I wish you could just, you know, have Polaroids where people be like, what?
Yeah.
Like their eyes bugging out of their heads because they're like, they can have whatever they want and like a cape on their suit or whatever the case is. That's pretty
Yeah,
incredible.
Anything.
I
Yeah.
think there's also a misconception about the price of custom.
Yes.
And I'm not
Right.
saying it isn't more
You know,
expensive.
speak to that because
Yeah.
that is something that, like I said, it is. A lot of the people I know do feel like they are concerned that they can't afford it. So
Yeah,
just
I
speak to
mean,
that a
and
little
she's gonna have to say the prices because I'm gonna get them wrong. I've been getting them wrong for 4 years. But like, if you are somebody who enjoys designer or something that is of better quality, then you're going to be spending hundreds of dollars on a piece. Like, even if you think of it about a shirt, a button-up can cost you, if it's great quality, $100 and something.
Right.
Why not just get it custom then?
Right.
You know,
Just a little bit more than
for
that.
yes, slightly more, and then it does fit you.
Yeah.
It you know, in every way it should.
Right.
But I think that that's what happens a lot of time. That certainly was something for me, as I was like, you know, it's just cheaper to get it off the rack, and like, no, I'll just wait till it goes on sale. But for all that, once I get it tailored anyways, I just might as well have gotten a
You have
custom
got-
suit
yeah.
Well, right.
or a
right.
piece.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Can I jump in real quick? So how do you educate your consumer then because if they're walking in and it's a candy store, right, and it's
Right.
custom, there's already this idea that it could be potentially more expensive. What's sort of the process that you walk your customer through?
I think what's really great about our pricing structure is that it's all inclusive, right? So once you pick the fabric, that already determines the price of your suit. So however you design it, it's already included. So they don't get super overwhelmed with deciding whether they want this button, if it's gonna be a little extra, right? Everything is included, so it's great. And we always work with our clients within their budget. You know, if they come in, they say, my budget is X, we're not going to like push them towards something that they can't, you know, that isn't within their budget. So we have a lot of conversations. It's very transparent, it's very open, and we have conversations to kind of make sure we keep them in budget and we also get them what they really want, you know? And with our pricing, in terms of the industry, we're actually really well priced. We're very affordable, and it is going to cost, you know, custom suiting is going to cost more than what you would buy off the rack, but it's an investment piece, and it's something that you're gonna have for a very, very long time. And when we work with our clients, we always try to educate them on the fact that, you know, you buy one suit, and that's your foundation. And with that one suit, we can always build on top of that suit, and then we can create a very modular wardrobe where you're getting a lot of different options for a lot of different events with very limited pieces. So it's like a lot less waste, but a lot more quality in clothing. So it's not disposable fashion. It's not fast fashion that you're investing in, but you're investing in long-term pieces, which I think, you know, it's more valuable in the long run. I mean, I'm sure Danielle can speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible. I'll say this, though. I think that people who have tried, like, they get a custom piece, whether it's pants or a shirt or anything, they get bit by the bug, and there's no going back.
Right? I also warn people about that, too. You know, it can become an addiction.
It is. It's an addiction.
I feel like
Which is good for you, right?
I mean, yeah.
It's a good addiction to have, right? There are bad vices.
Right.
That's not one of them.
As long as I don't gain weight, I'm good to go.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, you know, that's interesting. I was thinking about that. So how do you deal with that? Like, if people like, you know, with custom pieces.
Yeah.
What if someone, you know,
I mean, we work with that too. We can, you know, we always leave a little allowance in there.
I was wondering.
You know, we can open it a little bit. We can take it in a little bit. You know.
I'll be that person like, I don't want her to let it out yet.
Oh, we get a lot of that too. Like, oh, I know it's tight, but just give me 5 weeks. I'll be fine.
But that's part of the education, right? Because custom really is an ongoing relationship.
Right.
It's not like you get a suit and then you never see those customers
Right.
again.
And we see the same.
Oh, I'm sure you see the same people
time,
over and over again. They got bit by the bug, and now they're coming
Right.
back for sure.
You know, they still, I mean, I have clients for like 10, 15 years now. They still call me, not to buy a suit, just to ask me, can I wear these pair of socks with these pants? Or like, I'm going to an event, can I wear this tie with a suit? Yeah, it's a relationship, you know,
that's
we're building a rapport, and, you know, I think it's great.
I do it as well, and I'm a
Yeah.
fashion blogger. But you know, every now
Lots-
and then it's
lots of
like
texts.
I need, you know, I need a little advice
eye.
on this one. You know, I think it works, but just tell me what you think.
Right.
But it's part of also trying to step outside of the box and do things that
Yeah.
are new and innovative.
Yeah. Well, that obviously is what sets Taylor apart from others. That personal touch is pretty big. Like we were talking about how hard you work and you know how many hours you spend.
Right.
You know, this one's telling her to go home and she's still at the office, and so it's that personal touch really means a lot. I'm gonna imagine your customers really love it.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm very hands-on.
Oh, good. That's
I'm
awesome.
involved with every step.
I can see that. It's really good. It's really good. So Danielle, for you now, I want to ask you. So you're an influencer. You've been doing this for a while. You have been, you know, you've done a lot. You've kind of met with a lot of success doing it. So tell me about, you know, being a queer woman of color as an influencer. Tell me some of the challenges that you kind of run into, because I can imagine that you can speak at length by some of the challenges.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, there's some great things happening, but I'm sure there's some challenges.
Yeah,
attached to it.
when I first started blogging, actually, I didn't share that I was on the spectrum because I wanted it to just be about fashion. But what I noticed with that is that I'm still a woman in menswear, so people, you know, had an issue with that. I'm not traditional. I vividly remember brands just saying after they had agreed to work with me, then getting on the phone with me, finally pulling up my account, because they don't tend to do that right away, and saying, you know what, actually, we prefer women in women's wear and men in menswear. You know, whereas I look at fashion as a very non-binary thing. You know, it's about clothing. Exactly. It doesn't really matter how you, which rack you shop off of. But now, as I've evolved, what I've kind of learned is that the issues that I'm having are around whether you want to categorize it as race or ethnicity, because, you know, people of color traditionally make a lot less money than white Americans, if we're just thinking in terms of this country. So just kind of giving that pushback as to like why I deserve as much, if not more, than somebody else, because it's not just about that pretty picture or the video that you see, right? There's all these things that I also put into that. So trying to educate people on why I am so important has kind of been my struggle over the years. And yes, I've been fortunate, I'm still doing my work, and this is my full-time job, but there's just constantly that battle of like, I deserve just as much as other people.
Right.
But yeah, between the two, it's just, it has to do with, it's funny actually, because over the last 2 years, I'm sure you can attest to this, we're trending.
Yes,
So
we are trending.
being a woman of color, being a woman, being on the spectrum, you're kind of winning. So that's working out for me right now, but there's still those people that need to be educated.
Interesting. So, I mean, are you finding that since we are trending, yes, it's true, you're having a lot fewer of those discussions about why you should be getting paid as much?
So I'm having less of that conversation, and now the other struggle, and I don't think that this is something that I just face, I think this is an industry as a whole, or for influencers, is that educating brands on what we are really doing and why they should be paying us. And so like, it's really simple. Influencers are the modern day billboard and magazine. The only difference is that now you can track our work.
Right.
So when you think about it, if a brand invested into a magazine, they don't know who shopped off of that piece of paper.
Right.
They don't even know who bought it.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
if there was a billboard,
That's right.
how many eyes really saw it,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so now we have those metrics.
Right.
So I think that that's where like the learning is really coming in now, is saying, hey guys, this is why you should bring me on and compensate me for my work. But not only that, by bringing me to your brand, I'm widening your audience.
Right.
Because for a long time, you were just very one-sided. Now you have LGBTQ+, women, masculine presenting, androgynous, same-sex couple, because I'm in a partnership. You know, there's all these other things that I can give you, and that opens up your demographic even more.
Yes.
So it's just about constantly educating people on this change of digital media and marketing.
I think it's so interesting that you said that, you know, we're trending, or this idea that queer today, especially around gender-neutral clothing and just gender fluidity. So how do you deal with some of the brands that are kind of queer washing, as for lack of a better word, that are trying to hire somebody like you to show that they're woke?
I love that you said
Right.
I really pick and choose. So I tend to do a lot of my research on brands. So it's not just about them queer washing. It's about like really what's your history? What's your history with women? What's your history with minorities as a whole, or underrepresented, underprivileged people? And I look at that before I just go onto if they're queer washing or not. But it's learning. You know, I don't always get it right, but I try to really pay attention. And then I kind of educate brands on, again, going back to why do you really want to work with me? Is it that you just want somebody that is queer, masculine presenting, black, you know, you want to fill all those bubbles? Or is it that this is something you were already doing? Because we know in fashion, they work 6 months to a year out. So were you thinking about this before the trend? You know, so again, going back to their history. But it's constantly just doing my research. It's not always about the money, you know.
And if I may, so it's sort of interesting that the industry is more embracing of, you know, the queer perspective, and yet we're seeing these things happen with Gucci and Prada, and I'm just curious what you think about that.
I mean,
what don't you think about that?
It's been challenging when I think about the history of this country, when I think about my family, my ancestors. But then on the other side, I had to step back and not let it personally affect me and think about what normal people don't see. I'm not saying that you guys are normal in here, but like most people think that it's just about the sales if you're shopping, right? Now it's about the clicks. So the more buzz brands get, i.e. the protesting, the more sales they're getting. So it's just, rather than, because I was one of those people in the beginning, I was very frustrated about what was going on, and then I was like, you know what? How about I don't say anything? And don't contribute to that sale. You know, because if less of us protested and paid attention to every little thing. And we were having this conversation early about sometimes, if I'm talking about just the queer community, we're too radical about things that we don't need to talk about.
Right.
So like now, if I'm talking about people of color, sometimes if we just take a step back, we would actually not contribute to them making money. And it's the same thing with H&M. I mean, they had their worst quarter after they put out the sweater. And that's because people actually were like, you know, we're not going to go to the store. We're not going to click.
Right. I mean, it's funny
So
because
we need to be like less involved.
Right, you're right, and that's actually a very good point. And actually, I have to go back to Elliot again, because it's one of the things that they were talking about was how if you see something you like and you want to see more of it, then speak up about it.
Yeah.
So this is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Don't say a word.
No.
Right. Don't give them the attention. Don't give them the clicks. Don't say a word.
Yeah.
Right. That's a very interesting. I don't think a lot of people are thinking along those lines.
Yeah.
They want to voice their frustration. They want to let people know this is bullshit. You know, come on.
And that's the control that social media has over us. We see something and we want to be involved because we feel like if we're involved, then we're doing the right thing.
Right.
We're activists now.
Right.
But we don't always have to be involved.
Right.
We can have the conversations like we're having right here, and it has nothing to do with the brand.
Right. Not bringing attention to them in particular. That's really good. Well said. I really appreciate that. So Xiao, back to you. So, you know, we talked a little bit about this, and I feel like you probably get asked about this a lot. But as a woman in a male-dominated field, like, what would you say to other women? Like, there are not a lot of women who are doing suiting companies. Like, what would you must have some pearls of wisdom that you can pass on to women who are getting into suiting and want to do, just to kind of get into that business. What would you say? What is a really good piece of advice that you'd give to them?
It's a good question. Sometimes I'm like, oh, why did I start it?
But you knew it was coming, though.
I knew it was coming, yes. I know it sounds really cheesy and cliche to say, but like, don't give up.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you really believe in your idea, if you really believe in this concept, like I really believed in this women's wear, tailored clothing, custom clothing company for women, like I really believed it. If you believe something, you're the constant.
Yes.
So you're the one that has to fight for it. So you can't give up. You have to keep going. And it doesn't just apply to, if you want to start a suiting company. I think it's in general, if you want to do something, you're going to have failures. You're going to have a lot of naysayers. You're going to have people that's going to doubt you. But you have to be the constant. You have to just tell yourself, like, I believe in this. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to, fight through anyone that's going to tell me that it's not possible.
Right. So I'm guessing you had your moments where you're like, oh boy, like.
Oh
can
yeah,
I
of
do
course.
this? Like,
I made tons of mistakes. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things I did wrong, but that's, but I remain true, and I know what I want to do. And like I said, like I feel like there's a purpose with the tailoring now. So I'm going to keep, working those long hours
Yeah,
and keep making those same mistakes. I mean, not the same mistake, but keep making mistakes and learning from those
Right.
mistakes.
Same mistake.
It could be the same, I hope not, but like that's, you have to stay, in it,
Yes.
so that's what I would say.
We glossed over this a little earlier, but you mentioned you can kind of do anything, but that doesn't come without learning a craft, especially when you're talking about tailoring.
Yeah, of course.
And
So you should know your craft, of course. Don't start something you don't know anything about. But
Then again, that's why YouTube exists.
that's true.
I'm speaking about that in a very digital way.
I love tailoring. I've learned a lot of it. I went to design school, there was a part of, it's been a part of me, and it's always going to be, so. Yeah. Don't start if you don't want to do it. It's not easy.
It's an investment too.
Yeah.
So Danielle, for you. As someone who has been following your work on social media for a while, I think it's safe to say, definitely for my listeners, that you're an inspiration for a lot of them. They see what you're doing, and you're bringing representation and visibility to them in a way that is just not seen often. So it's amazing to have you doing what you're doing. But I'm curious about, like, with your style. So I'm sure that when you first started, wearing menswear, did you feel like it was more attached to your identity? Like, were you buying clothing because you're like, this is clothing that I feel looks good on me, and because it's of my identity.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, would you then say that now it's not so much about your identity, but about your style? Because you have great style. So
Thank you.
I'm curious that like how things have changed over time when you first started as opposed to now.
Yeah, so I came out like pretty late. I came out when I was like 21. So when I was first dabbling with menswear and kind of that like sporty urban athleisure way, I felt like I needed to be in menswear.
Yes.
And when you're wearing like urban clothing again, like back then in the early 2000s, there was a certain style and it just didn't exist in most women's collections. So back then, I think so. As I started to shift into suiting, because I was very uninformed and uneducated on the world of like suiting itself, I thought that if I wanted to have that style, I had to shop menswear because there wasn't another option. Like most designers, even if you're thinking about some of your like low-cost mainstream designers like a Zara or something, their women's collections are still very feminine. So I didn't have that option. So I shopped menswear like your Top Mans, your H&Ms at the time because that's all I had. And along the way, kind of around the time that I first met Xiao, another influencer showed me that women's collections or designers were starting to make women's suits that were like that boyfriend style. So I would start to wear those with like jeans or trousers, but they never made the collection with matching pants. And if they did, they were very feminine. So again, I was forced in a sense to kind of buy menswear. And then meeting Xiao, slowly but surely, I started to dabble with, I guess you can just say custom, because there's no gender attached to this.
But now it could be about your style, though, right?
Yeah. So
now you
now
can go to Xiao and get something that you're just like, this is made for my body. Now I can play with this.
Yeah.
So I can have fun.
So what happened was that I still do buy pieces that are menswear specific, and it more so is for comfort for me. So I don't like certain things like I don't like when my shirts like are in
They're
my
laughing
armpit.
because I have a feeling that they know about
Armhole.
Yeah, the armhole.
inside.
Okay, she always corrects me, but like I just don't like shirts sitting up there. I've never liked it, even when I was wearing women's wear. I thought I was supposed to wear women's wear. So I shop certain pieces just because you can't make everything custom. But apart from that, like Xiao just kind of allowed for my identity to resonate through my clothing by having it fit a certain way.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So now it's just, I really try to, I don't always throw it out there because I don't need to overshare about like non-binary clothing, but that's how I look at clothing. Like there's no label. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. And most of my closet, honestly, 90% or more is all women's wear.
Really?
Yeah. Even if you think about my suits, like this pattern is a men's pattern, but it's constructed for me, a woman. And it has, you could speak to this more, of course, like, you know, the curves and the certain details so that it fits a woman. But all of my clothing, for the most part, all of my jeans, women's. But it's how I wear it.
Yeah,
You know.
it looks great.
Thank you. My shoes, because I can't fit men's shoes. They don't come down to a size 5 or 6.
They gotta work on that a little bit.
They need to.
Yeah, they gotta work on that.
Or create a line that's like, this is a men's takedown, but
There's so few. There's so few.
I mean, they're just too expensive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm a 6.5 in men's. I'm like a half size away from a world of men's shoes that kind of puts me in tears every time I think about it. I was like, oh,
I know,
God.
I know.
Half size.
That
We
is
have that
one
conversation
question
all the
I get.
time.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
If I don't get more DMs on shoes and where I can buy them from, I'm like,
Particular shoes?
yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, because like when you're wearing a suit, you want the shoe to reflect
Right.
that,
Of course,
right?
of course.
And so most women's shoes, even if it's a takedown from a man, like the tongue is still up there, and it's like it's not the same look. It's just not the same look.
Not as good. Not
So,
as
yeah,
good look.
yeah.
Awesome. I think I'm ready for you to go ahead and
Should we open it up
turn
to
it
questions?
over. Yeah,
All
turn
right.
it over to our friends here.
So if you don't mind here at the end to grab that mic. All right. Who would like to ask the first question? Perfect.
I just wanted to ask about how you started up, like a specifically tailor-made business like that. Like, how do you build a client base from scratch? Did you start with bloggers and stuff like that, or did you start at home?
Well, I had a following already before I started my own company, but I was working in custom suiting for a long time. And I think if you are genuine and you build a relationship with the people that you work with, they're going to go and follow wherever you go because it's that relationship. So when I was fortunate enough that when I started, I had a lot of my clients come with me, and also working with them and then meeting their friends and then their friends' friends. So it's a lot of word of mouth and a lot of referral base. And, you know, and then working with Danielle, then she opens up a whole new world for me. So I think it's about the relationship.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how you got started, sort of where you went to school and ended up in design?
I went to Parsons. I studied women's wear.
That's why you didn't mention it. It's okay. We still like you.
I studied traditional women's wear, and that's because they didn't offer menswear at Parsons. And
See, you should have come to FIT.
I know. That was, you know. And I started, my first job out of school was at a evening wear company. And, you know, everybody thought that was so glamorous and like beautiful, like gowns and whatnot. But I didn't do the gowns. I did the mother of the bride suiting, which was the one job nobody wanted. But I loved it because I thought, you know, I really love tailoring. So when I was working in this department that nobody wanted to work at, it was like great for me because I got to learn tailoring. I got to learn how to tailor a perfect suit on anybody, you know, because Mother of the Bride, you know, department wasn't about like, you know, a size 0, 6 feet tall model, you know, it was like real moms. And that was really exciting for me. And I took that experience with me and took that to other custom clothing houses. But what I learned with the other custom clothing places was that they didn't cater to women, you know, and I really wanted to bring that to the industry. And it just wasn't available, and everybody shot me down. But that's why I'm here.
It's interesting.
So.
All right, other questions? All right. Down this way.
So this one's for Danielle. Actually, I've been following you for a while, and I'm kind of trying to break into that whole segment of like social media and Instagram of like non-binary, like gender fluid fashion. And you're like consistently someone who like is on like the top posts for that kind of category on Instagram. So like,
I had no idea.
how do you like start that sort of networking? Like, what are the kind of events that you go to get yourself out there?
Yeah.
As like a non-binary, I don't know, style.
Person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think now you're kind of in a like better position than I was back then because you have places like Condé Nast opening them. You have outlets like Dapper Q. You have Curve. There's so many different outlets out there. The Fluid Project. So you have to kind of just follow who is doing what. Research it. Honestly, what I did when I first started, I kind of would type in what events are out there because Google honestly is your best friend, and eBrite. There's always like those events out there, and Facebook. Facebook offers a lot of groups, and I would just go. You know, I would always bring a friend with me because in the beginning I was really shy, so I needed somebody to break the ice for me. But it's just about going to these different networking events and finding people and chatting with them about what you like. And then just, if you said do you already have a page?
Yeah.
Okay, share your style. Find the hashtags that work for you because there's one thing about social media is that everybody's always watching. Even people you don't think are watching at like top publications are watching. So use the hashtags that best resonate with you and just share it. Share what you love.
Thank you.
No problem.
It's so interesting that you said that you have to be social, or there's that part of aspect because so much of what is appealing to social media is that you can kind of hide behind it, so to speak. So can you talk a little bit more about that, because that's so fascinating, about how this job really is being out there and engaging and networking in a very physical way?
Yeah, I mean, you want to create those relationships, right? So like you can send emails, talk via DM or social all day long, but once you connect with somebody in person, this is what kind of happens. Yes. Like outside of Shao, all of the brands, PR, publications that I've connected with, it's because I've gone to the events, introduced myself, even if it's just like hi, I'm Danielle, this is what I do, and I don't talk to them for a year. They'll remember me just because I introduced myself, because a lot of people like
tend not to. They hide behind the social. And like you said, I think it's because it's kind of safer for a lot of us in the space that we're in. It's more comfortable. But there's somebody out there just like you at these events. And I've befriended so many people just because I've gone out there and connected. But it's all about building real relationships. And I think sometimes social takes that away from us.
Very much.
It strips what we
very
were
much.
created to do, and that's to be social and kind of like take things from one another and inspire one another.
How do you take, now that you've been doing this for so long and it's become your career, how do you take all the data and turn that into something that is sellable, that you can go and say, I'm worth X amount of dollars for this campaign?
Yeah, it's been a process. When I first started, this was literally just for fun. Like, I was still working a 9 to 5. So one thing kind of just led to another, and what I found, it's all about consistency. That was the first thing I learned when I started. And if we're talking just about like Instagram, the game has changed, the algorithm has changed everything. So when I first started, it was literally about posting every single day so that people would see you. It's like when you think of Google and the SEO, the more you share, the more you're gonna be seen. But now it's kind of just about curating something that's mine. So what I would say about like social and what's helped me sell myself is that my niche is my niche. I don't step outside of that. So you guys aren't gonna see me, not that I don't enjoy it, but like see me flaunt urban attire, or better example, you'll never see me in a dress and heels. It's not me. So I stick true to what my niche is, and that's primarily suiting. It's travel, and it's also like my partner, like slowly introducing who she is. And so what I think that between it, curating a very artistic page and consistently still posting on my blog, because for those that have a blog or other channels, like Instagram isn't everything. That is not why I got into this. It just so happened that I got lucky with that and then it blew up. But I still share on my blog because that is why I started. It's really personal for me. But it's being consistent. I do recommend having something like a blog or a platform that is yours. Curating your niche and standing for that, right? And then don't be afraid to reach out to people. I still reach out and say, hey, even if this is for something gifted, or I'm going to travel and I want to stay with you, like introducing yourself. Not everything is paid for me, but I have been very fortunate and lucky that because of the story that I've consistently told, that is also different than so many others that I've been able to grow.
Other questions? Right next.
Hi, Shao. I have a question about your shop, the way that you kind of run your business. Do you find that some clients aren't exactly sure what they want? So do you offer any kind of samples, like to see what a double-breasted would look like, or different shapes, or is it all kind of from scratch?
Actually, a lot of our clients come in not knowing what they want. That's the beauty of going to custom shops. You can kind of talk out the concept and get that item made. We have seasonal collections that we put out twice a year. So with that collection, when a client come in, they can see a lot of samples, and from those samples, they can kind of tell me what they liked about it, what they liked, what they didn't like, and then we can curate something based on that.
So is that ready to wear then too? Is it kind of like people could buy off the rack that way, or is it just like
It's
a
not-
sample? More of
It's just samples. It's not ready to wear, so we don't produce it to sell. We just produce it as inspirational pieces.
So a little more made to measure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very custom.
How much did you have to learn about, because I know not all of your customers are LGBTQ, how much did you have to sort of learn about that space when you started to realize that there was that real connection that was happening?
I learned a lot from Danielle.
She's your guru.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
floodgates opened up.
And it's we actually talk almost every day, and we meet up very often. So these are like normal conversations that we just naturally have, and things that arise on social media or arise in the space or in our daily lives. We always constantly talk about it, and I think that daily conversation is how I'm like so immersed, and it constantly growing.
I mean, I think just like us up here, like we're constantly even still learning about the space. Even the extension, if I think of something like pronouns, that's not something we were using
No.
when
Right.
I was in college. So,
Me neither.
just evolving together. We're very honest with each other and open about what's going on.
Do you think there was an article in the New York Times not too long ago about brands that are starting to have gender neutral fitting
Yeah.
rooms and things like that. Why do you think it's taken so long for brands to sort of think about clothing less gendered and think about it more as you said, an open space where anyone who has money can buy what they want?
Right, exactly. I'm gonna let you take this one. I have my thoughts though.
I mean, being in fashion for so long, this whole concept really is very new, you know? And like even when I was going to school, right? Like it was, do you want to study women's wear or do you want to study menswear?
Right.
It wasn't just, do you want to study fashion design? You know, it was very divided, and it has always been. And it's very exciting to see, you know, fashion starting to evolve and people starting to understand that at the end of the day, clothing is just clothing and design is design and creativity is creativity, and there shouldn't be gender associated with it. And people are starting to understand that, and I know a lot of brands are doing it because it's a trend, and they're doing it because they want more sales.
Yeah.
But I think that's very obvious. It's very transparent. Like you can see that. You can
Yeah.
tell when a brand is just doing it because it's what's trending right now, and it's not really part of their DNA.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we try a lot to make sure that people that we work with, people that we partner with, and things that we get involved with has that authenticity to
Yeah.
it. Isn't just, oh, I just want to be cool
Yeah.
or trendy or, you know.
And I also think that this is when like the protests have been good.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's people out in the street, you know, grassroots, or if it's done on digital. It's, you know, we're fighting back, we're taking a stand that we need to move forward
Right.
and evolve as a, you know, as a country, as a world, as a community.
Society, exactly.
Society, there we go.
Yeah.
I was like, I know the word, I can't get it out. So many
I
thoughts.
got the word for it, don't
So
worry about
many
it.
thoughts.
But you know, so I do, you know, I do get people that I help style sometimes, and what I'm finding more and more are there people who don't present as masculine. There are women who don't present as masculine, and they don't like what they have in terms of options for suits.
Yeah.
You know, so the fact that the tailor exists is really important, because I think that it's funny to me that they can go into a store and they're women and they can go to the women's department and they still can't find what they're looking for.
No, because
They can't find it.
No.
You know, it doesn't exist for them.
Yeah.
So the
I
tailor-
always feel like the construction too with women's clothing,
Yes.
for some reason, is always subpar.
Yeah.
It's never as good as the construction.
I completely agree with that.
Like pockets, for
I
example.
completely agree with that.
There's no pockets on
Right.
women's wear.
It's
Or
It's
they're
as
like
if we don't
jean
need
pockets,
it.
like
Right.
stop
It's like
Right.
super small.
just for your
We got to
Little-
get you to buy
little detail.
bags. That's the thing, right?
Right.
We gotta
So
get you to buy
little
bags.
details like that really bothers me.
yeah. I see
Um,
why.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the canvassing on a traditional jacket always has canvassing in the lapel and in the front chest. If you buy even very expensive women's suiting,
Yes.
it's like a lining, a fusing, and a fabric. There's no construction,
Right.
you know, as if like we don't deserve to
Yeah.
have that. So I really, you know, tried when we were creating suiting here, you know, the way we create a man's suit,
Right.
you know, is the same as the way we
Right.
I mean, all the suits.
It's the
all
same
of our
kind of
suits
construction.
are
It's just
created the
constructed the
same
same.
exact way.
Yeah, with the canvas and all that,
everything,
yeah,
pockets,
exactly.
canvas, the pick stitching.
Like, why shouldn't it be there? It's
The
incredible to me that they
monogram.
can't spot it. It's
It took a
incredible.
while for me to get that this was a women's suit. I was like, no way. This is a man's suit. That's just what it is.
You're like, I'll call it whatever.
Yeah, it's only
Yeah.
it's only because you know we all know like to fit you know bodies it's different.
Right.
So
Right.
with Danielle's suits, it was we had to give her the style that she wanted,
Right.
but also needed to fit her.
Right.
You know,
right.
so we play around with the patterns too.
And you guys
get
deal
that.
with bodies. That's what you deal with. That's what's so great.
Yeah.
You're just dealing with bodies. We're
All
just
types of
we all have bodies, right? We don't, it's not a gender. It's a body,
And
right?
designers in mainstream don't think about that.
Not
it's
at all.
just like this is for
No,
them, this is
right.
for that.
That's
and you don't
exactly
think
right.
about the shape
Right.
and you know the bust
That's
and all
right.
this and that. Whether you're a man
Right,
or
it's a shape.
yeah.
It's just a shape. That's all it is, right? At the end of the day.
Any other questions? You're so shy today.
They're mesmerized.
I know.
Yes.
Like ask away.
All right.
Okay, so then I'm gonna take it over then. So, as a takeaway, I'm gonna ask you both a question. I won't get crazy. See the look? She's like, "Don't you dare!" Don't you go. So this is something I ask pretty much everyone on my podcast, and answer in whatever way you want. There are no wrong answers, and I'll let you go first. So you can think about it. Because you you got an answer already. I can feel it. So
Another question.
well, okay. So one of the things that we talk about in the podcast is, and it's really important to stress the importance of authenticity, the importance of people just living their lives in a way that feels very authentic to them, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you want to use pronouns, great, use pronouns. If you don't want to, you don't have to. If if you have this identity and it's something completely separate from anything you've ever heard of before, then fine. But what is it that you do that makes you feel like you? And so I usually ask the question. I ask people to complete the sentence. I feel most authentic when. You got this.
Seriously? Seriously.
You got this. I feel.
You can take a
I
moment.
feel like there's so much you could say. Come on.
I
so
know.
easy. Start thinking.
Now I'm thinking
Start
here.
thinking.
Damn it.
Do you want me to do it first?
Yeah, you go
Okay,
ahead.
great.
How
I'm
about
going to go
that?
first, and now you have time to think. Okay, so I think I feel most authentic when I am doing this right now. When I'm having conversations with people, when I'm connecting with them, and we're talking about usually these types of topics, but in general, just talking to someone and listening to them and having a really authentic conversation about life, about their struggles, about their history. This is when I feel most authentic, because I feel like I'm really there with them. We're having this really good, authentic interaction.
Can I just say that's my answer?
I was just
You
gonna
can.
say the
You
same
can, but I don't believe it.
thing.
It could, it could be an activity. It could be like.
Honestly,
really
I feel most authentic in so many different ways and spaces. It depends on the day, you know?
Okay.
So I feel most authentic when I'm in the gym. Why? Because I was an athlete first.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I am a basketball player.
Yeah.
I feel most authentic when I'm in a suit, because it's like it's
Yeah.
my costume. It's
Yeah.
like my superhero
Yeah.
comes out. I feel
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
doing one of those. Yeah, yeah, it's my armor all the way.
Awesome.
And honestly, I feel most authentic when my slogan or my line is "Be free enough to be you." So like, I'm gonna connect this all in one sentence. But I feel most authentic when I'm free enough to be myself
Mhm.
with my partner walking down the street.
That's awesome. Good answer. See, and you can handle
I
it.
had one in the back pocket.
I had a feeling. Chow, this is not gonna be so hard. It's gonna be easy.
Putting me on the spotlight.
Okay, it's
I mean, it's what you guys said, right? Like, I think I'm very proud to be who I am,
Mhm.
and I'm happy who I am. So I'm authentic when I'm just being me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
When I'm doing, like, people that know me knows that, like, yes, I am very shy. But when I'm just, like, in my own space, like, I'm crazy and goofy and
Yeah,
silly, and, I never filter what I say.
Yeah.
A lot of times I say the wrong things, but it's okay because it's me. But in the context of like fashion,
Yeah.
I definitely feel the most authentic and the most passionate when I am in the working zone with working with the client and really being able to like curate and design something for them that they never thought they could have, or helping them create their their visual identity, helping them tell the world how they see themselves,
Right.
and being able to help them tell that story, like that's really important to me,
Yeah.
and that's when I feel like the most authentic and passionate, and like it's like I'm doing the right thing. This is what I want to do, and I made the right choice to leave my job and start this on my own and struggle through it every day.
All right, see?
So
That's a fantastic answer. I love that answer.
thank you. You gave me like some time to
But
think about it.
I did that on purpose for you. But I actually have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Because someone asked about, like, when someone comes to you and they don't know what they want, what kind of questions do you ask them? Like,
Simple questions.
yeah, like, what do you
Things
ask them?
like, what's your favorite color?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to wear the suit?
Yeah.
Where is it? What is it for?
Yeah.
And that's, these very simple questions, as simple as they may sound, gets them really comfortable, and they start talking, and then before you know, we're having like hour-long conversation about their life and what they're doing on the
Very true.
weekend, and
Well, I've been to your
know,
office, and you
yeah.
also serve alcohol. So
I
I'm just
definitely
saying,
serve and
Let me have
macaroons
a
now.
little something. Maybe a little
Champagne.
something to do with it.
So and I know you guys never been to my space, but I have a very intimate studio space. It's almost like walking into your friend's living room. it's very small,
It
it's
is.
comfortable,
It's nice,
there's
yeah.
like great
It is
music,
nice.
great lighting. And I do that on purpose because I want it to be a safe space. I want it to be
Yeah.
a comfortable space. I want you to be able to walk in and feel at ease
Mhm.
because it's not always easy to talk about, your own insecurities with the way you look or your body or not being able to find what you want.
Right.
And to be able to go to space and sit down and work one-on-one with someone and talk to them about everything and then at the end walk away with confidence and a beautiful piece that
Yes.
you dreamed about, that's important,
Yeah.
so
Fantastic. Ah,
And for some of your listeners,
Yeah.
because you said that they follow me,
yes, they definitely follow you.
if
They definitely follow
I
you.
get really bashful, can you not?
Oh, okay, sorry. Just the honest truth, that's all.
But a lot of people tend to come in and say they want a suit like mine, or I
Right.
want Danielle's look.
That's
So you
great.
have to
That's great.
still know, though,
Right.
why you want that suit.
Right.
Because mine is very much off of European style, so it's
Yeah.
very fitted.
Okay.
So if you're somebody that doesn't want a fitted suit,
Right.
make sure you have all of those answers and questions for Shao. She'll ask them as well.
I'll ask them too.
Yeah.
We do get a lot of clients that come in and say, I want to look exactly like Danielle. And I always ask them, why?
Right. Right.
Why?
It's a good
And
question, though.
what
It's a
is
good
it
question.
about Danielle's suit that you like? Is it the stylist suit?
Right.
Or is it how it fits her?
Right.
Because those are very different things.
Exactly.
Fit's very personal.
Right.
How it fits on her, if I do it on the client,
Yeah.
they might not like it.
Right.
So that's those. We have very extensive conversations about all of that before we even get to the measuring part. We do that last
Right.
for a reason.
Right. Right. But you make them feel comfortable, which is like,
Yeah,
I guess,
it's
the big piece there. Awesome. Good answer. Those are great answers. I love them. All right, so I think we're gonna wrap up.
Yeah.
But thanks, guys, for listening today.
This was
Yeah,
awesome.
thanks
Thank
for
you for having
having
us.
us.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled to have you guys. This is really wonderful.
We're going to have to do a part 2.
We're doing
Yeah.
a part 2.
Okay.
without a
do
doubt.
part 2.
Yes.
With whiskey and
That's when the whiskey's happening.
a little Grey Goose for me. I like the skinny girl
Yeah, just
drink.
kidding.
Whatever
We
you want.
have that Grey Goose for you.
Thank you so much, Corinne, for hosting today. It was
My
so
pleasure,
nice to
guys.
sit back and kind of watch that today. Usually I'm in the driver's seat. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Shao, for
Thank
coming. It was
you.
really a pleasure. Thanks. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.